Okay, I'm about to make Bavarian cream. So the first thing I did was I added 2 cups of water and 2 cups of ice to my bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of water to my bowl. Then I'm going to add 2 1/4 teaspoons of grass-fed unflavored gelatin to my bowl. Two 1/4 teaspoons. Two 1/4 teaspoons of gelatin. I've already added 2 teaspoons. That's my 1/4 of a teaspoon. Then I'm just going to mix it in until my gelatin dissolves. And I'm going to set this to the side and just let it bloom. I'm going to let my gelatin bloom. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a saucepan. Into the saucepan, I'm going to turn the saucepan to medium heat. I'm going to add 1.5 cups of half and half to my bowl. I'm just going to put this in the freezer for a little bit. Keep this in the freezer. And I'm going to add 1.5 cups of half and half to my pot. Yep, 1.5 cups of half and half. And I'm going to heat this up. I'm just going to heat up my half and half. I'm gonna bring it to a boil. And while I'm bringing my half and half to a boil, I'm going to take 4 egg yolks, and I'm going to add 1/4 of. Well, first I'm going to mix my egg yolks. First I'm going to break my egg yolks. 4 egg yolks. And I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of sugar, of granulated sugar. 1/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. One-fourth of a cup. Then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. After I've added 1/4 of a cup. Then I'm just going to whisk. I'm going to mix my sugar and my eggs together until they're fully incorporated. Yep, and now I'm just waiting for my half and half to come to a boil. Okay, so my heavy cream has now come to a boil. As you can see, that's boiling. You don't want it to boil over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off the heat. And I'm going to add about half of it. I'm going to add half of it to my egg yolk mixture. Then I'm just going to stir it in. Add a little bit more because you don't want to scramble the eggs. If you add it too quick, you'll scramble the eggs. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this back into the pot. Pour my egg yolk mixture back into the pot. Then I'm going to insert my candy thermometer into the pot. Turn it on. And once it reaches 195 degrees, I'm going to take it out. Once it reaches 195 degrees. Okay, so my mixture is now 195 degrees. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gelatin that I've allowed to bloom, and I'm going to add this. I'm going to take my candy thermometer out. And I'm going to add my gelatin to this mixture that's been blooming. And I'm just going to stir it in until the gelatin melts. And there's no trace of it. Stir it in. I'm going to stir it in until there's no trace of this gelatin anywhere. Till it's totally dissolved. Yep, and that looks like it's dissolved. The gelatin has dissolved. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my large bowl. I put a little bit more ice in it. I'm going to take my large bowl. Then I'm going to put a smaller bowl inside of it. First I'm going to have to break up this ice. So I'm going to sit this bowl inside of this bowl. Sit my smaller bowl inside of it. Then I'm going to pour my gelatin. I'm going to pour my mixture inside of here. Pour it inside of my smaller bowl. Pour this right inside, and then I'm just gonna let this sit. I'm gonna let my smaller bowl sit inside my larger bowl with the ice bath. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my mixing bowl. Into my mixing bowl, I'm gonna add one and a half cups of heavy cream. 1.5 cups of heavy cream. One and a half cups of heavy cream. And this is like a little, I think it's 1 pint. Yeah, 1.5 cups of heavy cream. You only need 1 pint of heavy cream and 1 pint of half and half for this whole recipe. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this heavy cream into whipped cream. I'm going to turn this heavy cream into whipped cream. And this is heavy cream that I let sit in my freezer for a little bit. Not too long, but for a little bit. And I'm going to whip the heavy cream until medium peaks form. Yep, that's just soaking in the bath. So, yep, I'm just going to turn this into whipped cream. See how this is becoming whipped cream. This is about the consistency I need. You don't want to whip it too much. See, that's about medium peaks. That's about medium peaks whipped cream right there. Now to my whipped cream, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of my homemade vanilla extract. Those are Madagascar vanilla beans. 1 tablespoon of my homemade vanilla extract. I'm just going to incorporate that in. See, now these are medium peaks here. This is what you want, just like medium peaks. You don't want to whip it too much. So now you want your egg mixture to be cool enough before you add the whipped cream. So you'll know that it's cool enough when it coats the side like this. It'll coat the sides of the pan. So you just take it off with a water bath. And you just scrape down the sides. That's how you know it's ready. Then you just want to add a little bit of the whipped cream to it. Just a little bit to lighten it. Mix it in. Just to make it a little lighter. Scrape down the sides, mix it in. Just kind of mix it in until you don't see any lumps. Fold it in, and then at that point you can add the rest of the whipped cream to it. At that point, once it's lighted, once you've added that first little bit, then you can just add the rest of your whipped cream and just fold it in. Because the gelatin is what's going to turn it into Bavarian cream. Yep, you just fold it in. And that's why you don't whip the whipped cream. You don't whip the heavy cream until it becomes whipped cream, because you want it to have, because then it'll be like the Bavarian cream will look like whipped cream if you do that. See, this is perfect. This is what you want. You just make sure there's no lumps. Fold it into the Bavarian cream. See how thick that is? Yep. And that's what you want. That's your Bavarian cream. That's your Bavarian cream. Then you want to just you probably want to just put it in the refrigerator for a little bit, for about half an hour or so. You know, and give the gelatin that gelatin time to, you know, turn it into like a cream. Like a Bavarian cream, like you're used to, like are in the donuts. Just give that gelatin time to do its job in the refrigerator, and that's what you want. That's your Bavarian cream. Just put it in the refrigerator for about half an hour before you use it.